I'm not a morning person. So yeah, I'm in the morning shift this morning. Well, not quite the morning. I'm on 11 to 6 this morning. So I'll shave later. I have about half an hour to get changed and ready for work. And then after work, I've got an hour and then rugby training. And then a D&D game tonight. And then a match tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. I plan on shooting more of this between work and rugby. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. And off tomorrow, match day. We're playing Malahide, I think, and it's a home game, so that's nice. We don't have to travel to Dublin or whatever. So, I'll see you in a bit. Hey everyone, so I'm home from work and it is dark outside. It's only 20 past 6 and might as well be the middle of the night. I have maybe 25 minutes before my lift gets here for rugby, so I'm going to make this one quick. The topic for today's video is, what's in a name? You see, I'm ridiculously bad with names. I remember a face from like 20 years earlier, but if you tell me your name, you're lucky if I remember it 20 seconds later. This became particularly apparent today. The reason I say that is because I work in Centra, specifically Jordan Centre, which is owned by a guy called Alan Jordan. And I went back to work today after my lunch. I've only met this guy a handful of times, but I went back today after work and I was walking by my boss who was talking to some guy, and the guy said, "Hey Senan, how you getting on?" And I'm used to people knowing my name because I wear a name tag or because I went to school with them or something and it's been a long time. So picture the scene. "Hey Senan, how you getting on?" "Oh hey, Alan. I forgot the name of my boss's boss. I forgot the name of the guy who owns my company and pays my paycheck." But the reason I wanted to talk about names today is because something interesting happened. My name is Senan. It's a pretty unusual name. If you're not from Ireland, it's very unusual. You've probably never met anybody before. I used to be able to count on one hand the number of people I had actually met with that name. Now it seems to be getting more and more common, which is fine. Although now that I'm actually an adult, I don't mind having something a bit unique. So, meh, but eventually we'll take over the world. So a little background knowledge on the name. Senan comes from West Clare. I personally don't. Saint Senan was the patron saint of West Clare, and there's an island off Clare called Senan's Island, which I fully intend to lay claim to one day. So yeah, I've heard a few people, like in restaurants or something, talking to the kids saying Senan, and I have this habit of looking around automatically because it's still pretty unusual to hear it up here. Today, I heard a mother giving out to her child saying, "Senan, put that down. Senan, stop screaming. Senan, do you want these sweets?" And I said, is that child's name Senan? Yeah. What was unusual in particular was not only was this a child called Senan, but the mother had never met another Senan, and the Senan was a girl, which... Should I just pause for the jokes? But realistically, I find it weird because I'd never heard Senan as a girl's name before. Now, we can get into whether or not names should have genders or do have genders, but like you never meet a girl called John. I actually had looked it up before. I found two different meanings. One was hero of the people, which is the one I tend to go with. The other meant little old wise man, which was the first one that I found, and I was a bit bummed until I realised that's basically Irish for Yoda, so I'll take it. But yeah, so it was really unusual, and that got me thinking. And then a few minutes later, somebody came up and was addressing me by name because of my name badge, and I need the locals I try to get to know by name just because, you know, it's the job. I'm a people person. So I said, "Oh, what's your name?" And he said, "Whatever." And he said, "Spike." And immediately I looked up and I said, "Nolan?" And he said, "Yeah, that's it." And I laughed because I'd never met this guy, but I knew his name since I was about 7 years old. And I said that to him. He said, "Oh, good man." Basically, if you're not from, again, Ireland, but more specifically probably Kildare, Spike Nolan was a county football player in GAA. And I asked him how long he played. He stopped in about 97, so he missed the 98 final where Kildare were in, and that was kind of a big deal at the time. But he'd been playing for about 13 years. So 13 years back was 1984. This guy had been playing for the county since I was born. I knew his name since I was a child, and I'd never met him before. But as soon as I heard the name, I knew exactly who he was. this is weird because I mean, Gaelic players, they're big in the local area, or if you follow Gaelic, I'm not a Gaelic fan, but I knew this guy because of his name. So, forgetting Alan's name, that girl called Senan, hold for laughter, and Spike Nolan Day had me thinking, like, honestly, what is in a name? You know, where do names come from? Why do we pick the names that we choose? Generally, we're assigned names, but at least two of my friends have changed their name. The second, chose a name that was a unisex name, but I'd only ever heard that as a guy's name before, so I was thrown off. And my other friend, I know for a fact, had made a big list and was narrowing it down before he chose his name. So not many of us generally get to pick our own names. And it just got me thinking, like, Spike. I knew the guy as Spike. When he told me his first name, didn't have a clue who he was. So yeah, I suppose that's not my rugby left. So yeah, I guess what's in a name? You know, I mean, nicknames. I've never really had a nickname. A lot of people shorten my name to Sen, which is fair enough. And when I served in the reserves, people knew me by my surname. One of our cadre staff used to refer to me as Young Dolan because my dad had worked with the regiment and my brother had been in the regiment previously, so I was the Young Dolan, even when I was the only Dolan left there. So yeah, like, nicknames are a weird one. You know that you can't give yourself a nickname, it just doesn't work. But my friend Goose, his first name is Darren, and like, I still find it weird when I'm searching on Facebook that I have to type Darren instead of Goose. But who the hell's called Goose? A friend of mine who commented on this video, or yesterday's video, that I used to work with in Great Outdoors, Ryan Shockey Davis. When I first saw that written down, I assumed it was a nickname, but that's his actual name. Shockey. To be honest, it sounds like somebody was going through labour and stuck their finger in a plug socket. No offence to Mrs. Davis. Although if you see Ryan's hair, that kind of makes sense. So my question to you is, do you have an unusual name? What would you name your kids? Do you have a nickname, or have you ever given a nickname to somebody else that stuck, and how did that nickname come about? Probably the best nickname I've ever heard, the guy hated it. We were with the reserves and his name became Custard, purely because we were going for dinner one day and there was like a chicken dish or something and a big tureen of what looked like white sauce. We ladled it on. Now, when you're in the Glen, as we were, there is this very specific amount of rations because they've taken into account everybody who'll be there and how long they'll be there for and how many people they need to serve. So you don't get 2 dinners. You get in trouble if you get 2 dinners. That's another nickname for another day. But, so Custard, Shane, I think, ended up ladling this sauce onto his food. And he walked away. And the 2 chefs stared at him, realising he just poured a load of custard on his chicken and went after him to give him a second dinner, but everybody had seen it and he became known as Custard, which the amount of nicknames that last a week in there is phenomenal. But years later, I'd be talking to somebody on a camp in a training scenario or something, and they'd say, "Oh, what's your name?" Senator Dolan. "Oh, where do you serve?" "I'm with the 6-2 Regiment down in the Curragh." They're like, "The Curragh?" "Yeah." "Do you guys have a guy called Custard?" So not only had this nickname stuck, it had spread, and much like Spike Nolan, it had spread to people that had never met this guy or knew nothing about him other than his name. So that's a hell of a nickname. Like, what's your name? Where did your name come from? Is there a meaning behind your name? Is it a family name? Do you have a nickname? Did you give a nickname? Answer all this in the comment section down below, and let's see what happens. Bye!